Okay, so I decided that it would be a good idea to sort of do a really quick update regarding what is happening at Fukushima now and remind you of a little bit of what's been going on. And I'm using a new piece of software called Prezi, and I'd like to know if you like it. So this is Fukushima before the tsunami and earthquake, and this is units 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 and 6 over there. And first I want to talk about the reactor and the fuel pond damage.
The Third World Network published 2 magazines right after Fukushima and a year later. I'll send those to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is the reactor area of units 1 through 4 after the tsunami. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not sure the date of this photo. Okay, so unit 1. Now, what units 1 through 3, what happened was not a meltdown, it was a melt through. Because the reactor containment vessels failed. The basements are cracked. The water that's going to keep these reactors cool is going through the cracks. Some of it comes out and is being stored in these huge storage tanks. But that's what, so a meltdown stays in containment, a melt through does not.
It's kind of personal story, but my brother lives in Japan, and I thought he's safe because he's far away from Tokyo, I thought. My family, way back, I can go way back, there's nobody who had a problem with cancer. And then with just regular medical checkup, he was told that he is coming down with one.
No.
And only thing I can think about is he's on a downwind. And even if he's way out in Fukushima is way out north of Tokyo, he's way beyond Osaka and Kobe. But still, whole area is at
Contaminated.
risk.
Yeah.
Number 1. Number 2, doesn't matter how far we live, their food, the fish that's near the water that got caught and we are eating it out of the market or can. So none of us are safe. And I went to Marshall Island 50, 60 years ago. US did a lot of experiment. Kids are still sick. Being born before, they are too ashamed to say, my grandchild is deformed. Very quietly, they give money to the nurses, so nurses will be quiet. Hush money, and bury them in their backyard. That's how sad, that's how it's affecting all of us. So I just have to share that with
Thank you so much. It takes a lot of courage to speak up and tell a person's story.
you.
Unit 2 is even worse than Unit 1. They can't even find any of their fuel. There's a leak at the basement of Unit 2, and they've recorded really high levels of strontium-90 there, but even deeper is even worse problems. So yeah, they can't even find the fuel. And that was this year they were looking. Unit 3, they're disassembling piece by piece so that they can get to the cooling pond and start dealing with the radioactive fuel rods in the cooling pond. Unit 4 had a hydrogen explosion. It apparently didn't have a meltdown, but the building is sinking. So we saw 36 inches right after the earthquake, 30 inches at least subsequent to that. It's not settling evenly. It could fall over. This is where you've got the, you can see the big crane there working along, and they're removing the nuclear fuel rods from the cooling pond now.
How many
That's
fuel
it.
rods are there? Because they removed
Over
it.
1,180 already.
That's a dangerous process, isn't it?
Over
Yeah.
1,000.
And tell who's doing it, Helen. Tell who's doing the work.
Well, it's TEPCO.
Yeah, but who's working for TEPCO?
TEPCO to do it. So, so yeah, they've gotten over 1,100 have been removed and moved to Building 6, cooling pond. Some of the Building 6 rods are being moved to another fuel pool to make room for the ones in Unit 4. So they're playing, move this dangerous stuff around on site. But as far as Unit 4 is concerned, they had damaged fuel assemblies before this ever happened, and they're going to have a really hard time dealing with that part of it. And some of it was damaged in the
You mentioned building is sinking. This is a little off topic, but there are other places in the Pacific Ocean that are sinking due to global warming. Is Japan in that situation?
I don't know.
Okay.
But you can see from the early pictures, it's right on the sea. So that could be a problem. Oops, where am I going? Sorry, wrong direction. Let me see if I, so, and then the reactor and the spent fuel cooling water problems. So they just had, so they've been dealing with leaks and contaminated groundwater in the first 4 units here. There's a new leak discovered at Unit 5. And so what, that wasn't just in the cooling system, thank goodness. So what they did is they shut Unit 5's spent fuel pool cooling system down. It was in danger of heating up enough to cause an explosion. But before it got that hot, they rerouted the reactor coolant into the spent fuel pond. So now this reactor coolant and spent fuel coolant are being switched back and forth between the two using one cooling system. I'm sorry. Get my finger on the right button here. So, as you use the cooling water to cool the spent fuel rods and the reactor, they're just storing it. And so they put it in all these big tanks, and they're running out of room, but they intend to double the amount of storage tanks by 2015. And they've got more than 13 million tons of radioactive water that they're storing so far. And TEPCO says it may have to just start dumping this into the ocean. 13 million tons.
And the people who are doing this are expendable, right? Because they're being-
Oh, I'll talk about that in just a sec. Yeah. And the storage tanks are leaking and the concrete is cracked.
It's 11 o'clock, so.
Oh, okay, all right. Let
So
me
do
just-
talk about who's doing it, yeah.
All right. They're gathering up homeless people off the streets, homeless, illiterate people off the streets. Who's doing that? The Japanese mafia is doing that. These workers are not registered as workers on the plants and in the communities that were evacuated. Their deaths are not counted. You can get 10 years in jail for talking about Fukushima and the deaths without government or TEPCO permission. There's a very brave woman that's been talking about it. Her life is in danger.
Sponges.
Yeah. And of course, we've got the U.S. Ronald Reagan's lawsuit by those workers. Yeah. We've got contamination on the seabed, contamination in reservoirs up to 13 miles away, crop contamination. Half Moon Bay now has 12 times the normal It's normal radiation in California. We're seeing increased radiation in tuna, croakers, which is a different kind of fish, and
Salmon.
salmon, really?
Well, that's on the shore.
Well, I'm sure it
It's
will.
out there.
They're swimming around in the Pacific just like everything else. And then this is just
Oh, God.
a conjoined baby whale. And that's all. Okay.
So-
I'm sorry that was a long presentation.
Wonderful.
It was an important presentation, Helen. Yeah. And thank you all. Thank you all so much for being here.
We've never said it in so many words here, but our committee believes that all of this is killing us. We must get rid of nuclear weapons, but the whole nuclear industry has to go.
That's right.
May I mention this? The trouble is that we have to educate the public. They're so naive. For instance, when they were shipping the radioactive cars to Chile, they said not to worry, when they get here, we'll hose them down. They didn't have a clue that by hosing them down, they were making the water radioactive. Everything that touched these molecules is toxic. You just can't stop it. It's not destructible. You know, they just don't understand the dangers or the properties of these radioactive molecules.
So, with the group that's gathered here, support some sort of resolution by WILPF that says something like, you claim the human right to not be contaminated or threatened by nuclear war or industry.
Oh, you want the
I would like to claim it as a human right.
human right?
Yeah.
Resolution.
You can write it and bring it.
Your voice is, I'm asking,
Or after
would that be a resolution that you all would support? Or is it
Yes.
That's not reasonable? Right, but the thing about the UN is, it's a long story, but they were supporters of nuclear technology. So when they were stopped to what human rights would be, they thought they would support nuclear technology.
Laura's got,
We need to
Laura has got two of Rosalie Bertel's books, No Immediate Danger and Planet Earth, the Latest Weapon of War. And those are for sale for $15 for the No Immediate Danger and $12 for Planet Earth weapons.
And her life was threatened, that's
You
why she
can
was
also get
for
it at your library or online, but these are consignment and they are at cost. So we don't have too many available, but if you'd like to, take them
That's
home.
how our grandkids are gonna look.
And we also have copies of the ionizing radiation poster, and those are free. If somebody would like them. I have a right up here.
Oh, wonderful.
I
So,
don't have that many, I
So-
have maybe 13.
so Linda has raised an important question here, and I'm not sure that anybody really has responded to it. And that is, should we do a resolution? And each workshop, we have to say what it is that we're hope to accomplish from the workshop.
Not too far.
So the resolution would be what? Do you have any?
She's written down a resolution for me to help me. The human right to be free of radioactive contamination from nuclear weapons or power, but I might want to work on the wording a little bit between now and 1:30. But I want to know, like, with a thumbs up or a thumbs down, how people feel about that.
Got thumbs up everywhere. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
So I'll write something up and we'll hear it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for the important information that you shared.